Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, host of the Riderflex podcast and founder and CEO of our day job recruiting firm, Riderflex. We hope you enjoy this episode. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast for updates and news. Finally, if you haven't already, check out the series of books we've published on hiring, interviewing, and overall career advice titled The Riderflex Guide, available on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Most homeowners don't have the time or expertise to properly take care of their home, which causes costly issues to arise. That's where Kira Home Maintenance comes in. We're a full-service, routine maintenance company that was developed by a certified home inspector. Each quarter, we service our clients' homes following manufacturer's recommendations to properly maintain all the necessary appliances. We provide the materials and expertise to prolong the life of your property, creating a healthy and efficient environment for your family. From top to bottom, we'll maintain and service your home. To get started, we have a property inspection to determine what needs to be maintained, and a maintenance plan is created based on your preferences. From refrigerator coils to filters, vents, and drains, we do it all, and we do it well. Contact us today for your free routine maintenance inspection, and never worry about your maintenance again.
Jarrod Lopiccolo on the Riderflex podcast. Hello, sir.
Hello, Steve. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Now, is that a real background? Because I like it if it is.
You know, it is. I always do my little fingers here so you can tell it's not like a green screen. But yeah, a lot of the books are a lot of the business books you'll see on the top shelf that over the last 20 years are running the agency. And then I'm a big traveler, and so you see a lot of artifacts from all the places we've gone to, and I love a good first edition book. So
cool. All right, so I'm going to tell you this. You're going to hate me since you're a reader.
Uh-oh.
You know what I've been doing lately on the treadmill? Because we were just talking about ChatGPT a second ago.
Yeah.
So lately on the treadmill in the mornings, I don't know if you have. Do you have the ChatGPT, the button where she'll talk to you? Do you have
Yes,
the,
absolutely.
She'll just talk to you. I use the Sky voice because that's the most sexy voice. Anyway, what I've been doing lately is I'll pull up like a list of top 100 business books of all time or whatever.
Yes.
And I'll scroll through and go, oh, yeah, I never read that one. Oh, there's one I've never read. And I'll just ask her, I'll say, hey, give me a book report on blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And then she'll talk to me about it. And then I'll say, well, that's interesting. Can you go deeper? And then she'll tell me more. And then I'll go, by the way, can you just give me a chapter by chapter overview and the key points in each chapter and any key quotes from each chapter? And I'm on the treadmill and she's just talking to me about the book for like 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it.
I love it. I love it. I'm like, this is great. If I had this in college, I never would have read a single book.
I know that. Well, and Steve, you and I have a lot in common because I'm one of the only other people that I know that, or you are, I should say, that is on the treadmill doing work. And so every morning I bring my laptop and I'm usually typing as I'm walking uphill and, and then or I'm using ChatGPT. But even last week, I was asking ChatGPT about this book called Finish Big by Bo Burlingham.
Okay.
And I asked, basically, hey, do you have this indexed? Yes, I do. Great. Can you give me a summary of all the successful entrepreneurs, that sold their businesses and were happy, and next thing you know, it's like, yep, 30% were happy. These ones weren't, And so, yeah, so I think you can get to the essence of things quite quickly. And I love that about these new tools that are coming out.
I have almost forgotten. I'm 57 years old. So I went to high school in the 80s. Okay.
Yeah.
It's weird how it seems like that wasn't even real. Like it's almost like that was a TV show because I think now about how the things that we have and all these tools, and every once in a while I'll have a chance to reflect and I'll go, man, wow, in college I used to have to walk across campus, go to the library, go to the little index thing, pull out the little card, check out the book, try to find what I was looking for. Like, wow, like what a different world.
Oh, and the access, just to your point, the access now to information, all that, if you will, that walking and, cataloging. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, I remember I was in a meeting once, and this was right before there was like the Trio phones were out. There was no real smartphone. And I remember like everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm free next week. And they're all looking at their phones. And I lifted my flip phone underneath the desk because I didn't want to show I didn't have a smartphone. And I was like, yeah, I'm free. I'm free at the same time as you, you know? And that was, but I remember right when the smartphones came out and we had internet access, I just remember thinking, this is, you literally can ask the world anything you want and you get a response in your hand. And I thought, what the heck would Michelangelo and all these other famous philosophers and stuff, what would they give to have that kind of knowledge right in their hand? You know, and I feel like I don't think they would be on TikTok every day. That's for sure. You know.
By the way, this may be sharing too much personal information for the audience, but the only time I use Twitter is when I'm in the crapper.
Right.
That's
Oh yeah.
It's a crapper app for me. I'll just confess, because I know it is for a lot of other people too that just won't say it.
Oh no. Yeah.
I refuse to invest any minutes in it unless I'm in the restroom. That's it.
That's so funny. Well, I joke a lot. I say we no longer have private time in our house because you invite the entire internet into your bathroom when you're checking your feeds and everything else. So now it's all public. Our entire houses are public now because we invite the whole world in, you know?
I remember, I don't know what it was for you, but the first time I used ChatGPT, like I can't remember, I saw a little trickle in the news about it or whatever. And as a recruiting firm, of course, we're always trying to stay up to date on AI tools that are going to help us. And so at some point, whenever that was last year or whatever, at some point I'm like, okay, let me check this out. And I download it, I go into it, I use it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I call my co-founder, my business partner, and I'm like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah,
like,
we're in trouble.
I think the world might have just changed. Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and to your point, I mean, I think that was the same feeling that I had, I guess, when smartphones came out, when you're like, whoa, we went from just a phone, being an alarm and taking very like low crappy, high, low res images and can take a phone call till all of a sudden I have the world in my hand. I feel like this is the next revolution. It's like, wow, all these tools are automating, and they're getting to these answers that we need so much quicker. But the more you use ChatGPT, and we use the hell out of it at our company, the more you can smell ChatGPT. When someone gives you something, you're like, fuck, that was written with ChatGPT. Like
I'm trying to teach it. I'm trying to teach it to where you can't tell though.
I know. So you use things like, make it sound more casual, this, that, and the other. So one of the things we do is we run it through Claude.ai, and they have just a more humanizing tone through it. So you get all your kind of content out of ChatGPT and then run it through Claude. And that just does a better job of like humanizing. And then of course you have to actually put you got to read it and you got to fucking replace some of the words and,
sure,
and make it sound like it's yours. In fact, sure. Right now our team, just crazy, they're creating a Jarrod GPT. So that's basically they're ingesting all of my podcasts and all the videos and all the written content. Yep. And so now when we're writing stuff, we can write it in the tone. So, and which is just crazy to me, so.
We did the exact same thing. We have a Steve Urban's career coaching GPT that was built, and we did the exact same thing. We took the transcripts from the 2 books we've published, threw them in there, and then we have over 1,000 podcast clips.
Yep.
And we have just every day people are taking the transcripts from those and putting them into that GPT.
Yeah.
And then we're just training it, training it, which I think is key. And even for my own email writing and social media things, I built a GPT and told it I want to sound like this, and here's some sample writings from me. I think that's important to do for anybody listening. And to your point, still, I wouldn't just copy and paste.
Right.
I definitely would check it.
Yes. Well, and I think that's the thing is everyone, if you're not playing around with these tools, you get nervous. You're like, oh shit, this is going to replace my job. And it's like, no, it's really not. It's just going to convert how we generated content before, or how we generated imagery or video or any of those things. Because, I've still spent hundreds of hours, learning these tools, and I still can't get a good output if I just drop it in there. You have to massage it. You've got to train it. And then you got to put the human element, the human spin on it. And so I don't subscribe to we're all going to be out of jobs bullshit. I truly think there's more people on this planet than there ever has been, and more people are employed than there ever has been. And we've always constantly innovated and created new technologies and stuff. So it's just a matter of shifting our jobs. And we just view them as tools, but we're embracing the hell out of it. We got a whole AI task force at our company. You know,
Good.
we share on a
Right.
monthly basis all the AI
Right.
stuff that we're doing. We communicate with our clients. We got our legal counsel on board to check terms and use. And so,
Right.
but it's just, but if you're not on board and you think that, and you subscribe to this is going to take everyone's job, well, it's probably going to take yours because you're not leaning into it,
Bingo.
but
Bingo.
otherwise I encourage you to lean into it, so.
Could not agree more. Could not agree
Yeah.
more, my friend. Anybody listening to this show who, this is hardcore. And by the way, I fired a couple of recruiters that worked for us.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm not going to use Chat GPT to analyze a resume. I'm not going to use Chat GPT to write a job description.
Right.
And I go, okay, cool. You don't work here anymore.
Yeah. No, I appreciate your line in the sand. I think we're very much like on new recruits, we vet them. Like, how comfortable are you with these tools? Do you have any issues with this? And there's that idea of the change curve, where you're way over here and people still have to go through those emotions to get to the end to where you're at. So with our staff, we really walk them through like, look, we're not going to replace us as creatives. We're not going to we're going to just enhance us and give us more time to be creative and more time to be strategic. And so to your point, totally subscribe to, hey, if you don't believe in AI, we're going to work with you to try to get you there. But if you don't believe in it, then yeah, it's probably not the company that you should work with, at Noble.
You just hit a key thing I want to highlight there. More time to be creative.
Yes.
That is exactly what it's doing. It's eliminating, or it's decreasing tactical minutes.
Yes.
Tactical doer minutes, and allows us to be more strategic and creative, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually gives us more freedom, believe it or not. People think it's taking away the freedom. It's like, no, it gives us more freedom, but you've got to lean into it. You've got to lean into it, and you've got to not be afraid of it, and just play around. I always say to people, just play around with it. Like, grab a glass of wine and try to do something with it, and you'll be pleasantly surprised with the output.
One more thing on this topic, because we could talk about AI.
I know. No, 2 hours. Yeah.
Here's something I use for the people, for the doomsdayers that don't want to use it, or they'll call me and be like, look at this post. I can tell this post was done by AI, or I can tell this resume was done by AI. And they feel like they've accomplished something because they figured that out.
They're smarter than it. Yeah.
They feel victorious because like, look at this. This is what I've been saying lately. I'll be like, look, let me ask you something. Were you using spell check from Microsoft Word?
Right.
Guess what? That's a form of AI.
Yeah.
Were you using grammar check on Microsoft Word?
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, but that was AI. Like, come on, man. Like,
yeah, it's been around us this way. And I think the big shift was that where the fear came in is it switched from machine learning, to your point, like, smart machine learning, to then AI. And I think that term AI scares a lot of people, but there's been already, computer generated aided designs, and there's just been all this has been building to this moment. It's just finally got in the hands of us, and it's automating some of the things we do on a daily basis, like writing emails or building outlines and things like that. And so I think that feels like a revolution, and it is, but it's just, again, I always just subscribe to, it's machine learning that's more and more advanced than ever. Will we get to, AGI? I don't know. They say it maybe 5-7 years. I don't know. We'll see, but either then, I feel like they're going to serve us. If we do get to AGI, they're going to serve us. So,
yeah. I want to talk about how it's affecting marketing agencies specifically, but first let's touch on the AGI thing. So I agree with you when you said, it's not going to eliminate all these jobs right away. I think in the short term, you're right. People are going to embrace it. People are going to transition into different types of work. It's going to free them up to do different things. Now, let's go forward 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there truly is an AGI humanoid robot standing right beside me that can do anything I ask it to 100 times better than me. Okay.
Yes.
Let's assume we get there, which we probably will, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Guess what? I love to go camping in the mountains. I'll just have my AI robot do everything and I won't work. That'll be just fine with me.
back to freedom, right? It's going to give us hopefully more freedoms, and so, yeah, maybe we put them on the problems we're having right now too, like in the
Sure.
world or,
Sure.
and whatnot. So yeah, I think it's an interesting, I have a tendency to be an optimist and I embrace change. And even though I hate it sometimes, but when it lands on my doorstep, I'm like, fuck, here it is. And then
Yep.
I open the door and I invite it in. And I think that that's served us really, really well over the years, is just to be an optimist and accept change when it hits your doorstep. And it's those that resist and are thinking negative first that they often live a negative life, and they don't often capitalize
Mm.
on opportunities that are in front of them,
Great mindset, Jarrod. I will tell you, you're one of the industries, you're one of the sectors, right, that
Yeah.
is nervous as hell. When I was, going through my calendar this morning, getting ready for all the stuff we had coming up, I was looking at your company. I was like, oh boy, he's one of those guys that's got to be a little bit nervous. But your attitude is wonderful. The
Yeah.
way you've grabbed a hold of it is fantastic. It's like, hey guys, look, this is here. We can't make it go away. Like,
No.
he's here. Sam's in the room. So let's be
Yep.
friends with Sam and figure out how Sam can make us better.
That's right. Well, and I think and I mean this, I feel like I think that those will survive and thrive who have that mindset. And so, like, when we first, to your point, that moment of epiphany, when we start playing around with the tools, we're like, oh my gosh, this is doing stuff that's way more powerful than we expected. That's
Yeah.
when right away we're like, we got together, we huddled, and we
Great
said,
job.
let's get
Great
an
job.
AI intern, let's bring someone on
Great
board
job.
and just have
Yeah.
them play with the tools. Let's build a task force. Let's build a point of view. Let's bring our legal counsel in.
Great
Let's
job.
experiment. Let's do, instead of a hackathon, let's do a promptathon at our office, and we'll invite the community in, and we'll learn together, right? And so I feel like taking that approach, we're
Great.
not going anywhere.
That's good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for
thanks,
you.
man.
Good for you. That's good news. So tell us about Noble. Give us the overview if you don't mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
just go for it. Give us the elevator pitch, my friend.
No, thanks. So, Steve, I understand you work with your wife. I work with my wife. We started the company 20
Oh,
years ago. I was set to be the youngest architect, in like 39 states, and then she was working at a PR agency, and she was a copywriter. And so we met, and we fell in love. And then all of a sudden, I'm working at an architecture firm, and I loved, they had what's called user-centric design. And if you think of Disney as a brand, right? You go into a Disney cruise, you'll see Disney's paraphernalia everywhere, right? In the wallpaper and the music and the spoon designs and the plating and everything. And it's there for you to have basically a human touch point with the brand everywhere you can. Well, working at this architecture firm, they took a similar approach, but they went fully digital. So they said, we're not only going to build this, building in Dubai, but we're going to build their website and their brand and all this. And I got really excited about
I see.
the digital side of
Okay.
architecture, if you will. So I kind of
Mhm.
traded in the physical architecture for the digital virtual architecture. And then with Season, that's my wife, and she's now the COO of Noble Studios. We both basically, I came in it from a design perspective. She came in it from a copy, messaging, brand, and tone perspective. And we
Okay.
just started building the internet 20 years ago with our keyboards and mice, and we just really focused more on web development at the time. But now we're considered a full service agency. So we do creative, we do digital, and then we do performance. So it's all about like building the infrastructure, building the brand, the campaigns, the messaging, and then using all the different channels to bring those customers to that digital experience. And then, of course, we rinse and repeat. We learn from it. We have a whole analytics data team. We're building a research team right now. And so, yeah, so now we're considered that full service agency of record, if you will. We focus a lot on travel and tourism, and we have some big names that people know of. And then we also focus a lot on the B2B tech, fintech, health tech side of things. So,
Okay. And it's Noble Studios is the company, right?
yeah, Noble Studios, NOBLESTUDIOS.com. And we really created it based on a core value. We knew and I wouldn't have probably guessed AI, but we knew that the world was going to change, and we would operate on this sort of 30% learning curve every year. So how do we have something that's considered a waypoint? If we fall off our trail, how do we get back on? And that's where that Noble came from. It was a core value,
I
being,
see.
if you will, servant leaders, to the world. And that's really helped us, because sometimes we've gotten clients where they come in and we're like, well, is that the right kind of client? What's the noble thing to do? And the noble thing would be this. And that's what allowed us also to build like a really healthy culture, because we're always leading with that good intent, kind, not nice, really, really, building and making meaningful connections.
20 years. You and your wife have run your own company for 20 years. and you're still married and you're still in business and you're still in business.
Don't fucking ask how or you know what, but I will say, you know, the first couple, you know what it is, the first couple years, what I was on the sale. You can imagine I'm an extrovert. So on the sales front end, right.
Okay.
Saying yes to everything. And she was really like copywriting, like really like digging in, being way more strategic. But then she really started owning the operations, the function of our business and making sure we had good culture and stuff. And what we found was we needed to find our lanes of operating, like, you know,
Yep.
and make sure there was just enough
Yes.
of the Venn diagram that we overlapped. And that really was the
Yes.
alignment of vision and mission and how we wanted to treat our people and stuff. And so, yeah, those first 5 fucking years were rocky, man. They were hard. It was like survival mode. You know, you're an entrepreneur, you're doing everything. And then now we're in this really healthy groove.
So funny. My wife and I work together too at the recruiting firm, you know, and she, like you said, she handles certain things. I do certain things. Now, as the CEO, I still will follow up on something, which
Yep.
usually is not a good idea with my wife because then she'll look at me like, I know what I'm doing. You don't have to follow up on me like one of the employees.
Yep.
So the key to that is I follow up with her first thing in the morning. So if she's pissed by the evening, she's over it.
Then you're not angry when you're having a glass of wine or a beer. No, you know
Exactly.
what?
Exactly.
I think the thing, you know, it's interesting. We still definitely like get into each other's lanes a little bit, but I think it's coming now from an element of like understanding and compassion. And, you know, she knows where my strengths and weaknesses are. I know where hers are. And so
Cool.
you know, she was just talking the other day, like, hey, we went after this piece of business and we spent a lot of business development time on it. And she's like, do we really need to spend that much? Right. 'Cause she's got more of an operational side. She knows what that does to our margins. And then, you know, I'm looking in and I'm saying, wait, hold on. Do we really need to put all that language in the MSA? That's going to scare away people. And so what happens is you find a healthy medium by just having an open dialogue. And so that's really helped. And then the other thing I was going to say is you can't see if those are watching, but I got a bunch of bracelets on my hand. And the first one that I put on there it was a family first bracelet. And it was just a constant reminder that I'm not going to fill my cup of business up so much that I won't be a good husband or a good father or this, but it took a few moments where you missed some family moments because you gave the business your time. And that was the moment to say, okay, I need a daily reminder that, you know, that I can't put everything into the business cup. I've got to spread out my life into these equal cups, you know, and that's the best balanced way to live. So
How many kids?
I've got 2 kids. One's a 20-year-old. He's going to San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly, studying management with a minor in entrepreneurship. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Run away. Don't do that. And then my daughter, she's 17. She's going on 25 and she's a junior in high school and she's kicking ass. She's just launched actually 2 albums on Spotify and they're just really good kids. And so, yeah, they're rock stars, man.
2 albums on Spotify. Really?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, her name's Letty Lowe, and she just and it's all this like really having kids and having entrepreneurial kids, I should say, is they just look at the world a lot differently. So she knew she was a songwriter. She's an instrument. She plays a lot of different instruments, and she just said, you know what, I want to launch an album, and she took it on as a project. She wanted that start to finish, like what does 100% completion feel like? And so yeah, she just launched her second album in November, and then she just was she was the keynote speaker in a Vegas women's conference and she opened with one of her songs, you know? So yeah, I'm a proud dad, man, you know?
Wow. What if she might make it big? You never know.
She wants to, we held her back cause she just had this, like, I think she got it, of course, cause I just, you know, give her this confidence, like, go get out there, go, you know, go ask that, go order something in Spanish, you know, or whatever. She just never felt nervous to do any of that. And so, but we held her back from, you know, the Dancing with the Stars and, you know, those kind of shows and stuff. Cause she wanted it. And we're like, no, just be a regular girl and human. And now she's finally got like a really healthy EQ and IQ. And so now I think she wants to go after it, you know?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, is your last name Italian?
It is. Yeah. Lopiccolo. Yeah. Lopiccolo, as they say, you know, I mean, and I didn't know this until I lived in Italy for a year, but that means little man. And of course I'm like 6'2". So I was getting made fun of. It's like calling someone tiny when they're huge and everyone in Italy's small. So that was a fun way to learn what my last name meant, you know?
Was your dad first generation or what's the story?
So yeah, second generation came over. I'm actually in the process of looking to get my dual citizenship. We have an office in the UK and we have one in Vegas and one in Reno, but we thought, well, shit, if we get this dual citizenship, I can go over there 6 months out of the year, bring the kids over. have them join us. We, gallivant around Europe doing business and pleasure. But yeah, no, my dad is the second generation. Or excuse me, I'm the second generation. He's the first generation. So my grandfather came over here. And yeah, they were just humble farmers when they came over. They
Cool.
work in the orchards in Silicon Valley and in Orange County as well, all along California. And then,
Okay.
but my father is an entrepreneur. He's a contractor. And so I got that kind of heavy, like get the
Uh,
job done, like always underneath the gun of, trying to get the project done and, using subs. And so I kind of was around that growing up.
that's kind of where the architect thing came from because your dad was a contractor.
It was, yeah. I just loved being on the job site. At like 10
I
years
see.
old, I would be sweeping the floors and I'd go. I
Okay.
remember one time I asked him, I said, okay, dad, I'm done, 10 years old, sweep the floors. He's like, well, are you 100% done? I'm like, well, yeah, look. And he's like, no, there's sawdust over here. There's nails over here. There's this. And he showed me actually what 100% should look
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and ever since then, that just stuck with me as like, all right, what, and so that architecture side came from there.
What year was your dad born?
1954.
Oh,
So
okay. Oh shit. Oh shit. You're still young. How old are you?
I'm 43, man. I'm going 43 going on about 55, So I could take my shirt off and show you all the scars on the back from all the fuck ups, So
Well,
yeah,
hey, you're an entrepreneur for 20 years. You have scars. That's how it
I
works.
do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, mental and physical,
Is your mom and dad still alive?
They are, thankfully. Yes. Yeah. I only
Okay.
have one of my grandparents. She's 93 this year. She's the only one that's left, but my parents are still alive. Both of them actually are independent entrepreneurs, So I just growing up under that. Like it was like, and we were poor too. I mean, they were divorced, when I was really young. And so we grew up like street smarts and hence the sales side of thing. I always wanted to please people, and kind of just be the fun guy and everything else. But I learned the good work ethics from them and then the confidence from them.
Did you ever get in any trouble? Any good stuff, arrests or anything? Anything
Well,
cool?
I don't often talk about, it, but I don't give a shit. So when I was 14, I never got in trouble for this, but when I was 14, everyone thought I was 17, 18, living in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And I wanted a job and I went to go get a job and they're like, sorry, you have to be 16 to get a job. And I thought, well, I'll just make a fake ID, And
Sure.
so I made a fake ID and I got the job. And then a friend of mine's like, hey, you made a fake ID. Can you make me one? And then next thing
Ah,
you know, 50 fake IDs later, I'm
that
like,
was your
what?
first. That was your first entrepreneurial journey,
That was
right there.
actually it. Yeah. And then yeah, that was literally my first, like I can create something from nothing.
So good.
And then actually being in Vegas, Andre Agassi, famous tennis player, I got a call from one of his team members who said somehow he learned that I knew graphic design. And then I got a call and they said, we want you to put this flyer together. And I said, well, what's your budget? And they said $500. And I thought, shit, that's 5 fake IDs. So then I did this flyer design and I gave it to them. And then Andre Agassi became a client when I was 16 and a half years old for about
That's
2
pretty
years.
cool. That's pretty cool.
And that was when I stopped doing fake IDs. So that's the worst. Never been arrested, never been caught, I should say, but that was the worst. And I knew if I did get caught, I was under 18 and nothing was going to happen, So
How did the whole Nevada thing, the move? Did your parents move there? I know you went to school in Nevada, but
yeah, so all my family came through from literally off the boat in San Francisco, and then they kind of
okay.
settled mostly in like the Santa Clara area, and then some
Okay.
went down to Orange County. And then my mom and my father met in Cupertino High School, and then they decided like to move to Nevada because there was some contracting jobs that were available here, and Nevada was starting to build up
I see.
in terms of the construction industry. So they moved here, and then of course they were like the magnet. They started. Then my aunt and uncle moved here, and my grandparents moved here, and then.
Okay.
And then when we graduated from UNLV in Las Vegas, we found ourselves, my wife and I, at a music festival. And we came back from this music festival and we were pregnant from that music festival. And we're like, oh shit. So we thought, well, you know what, let's raise a kid up in the north, in the mountains and where we have family and it's not Vegas. And then we got here and we said, man, let's launch a business,
Yeah, because you're in Reno now.
Yep.
Now so you met your wife in school?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, met her in school. Yeah, the last semester it was in a English 404 class, and I came in with a long board and a visor sideways, and I was Mr. Cool, and she thought I was annoying, and yeah, then we hit it off. So.
It's pretty good. Okay, cool. All right, so the size of the business now after 20 years.
Yeah.
is it still a lifestyle family business, and or where are you taking it? Where are you planning on taking it? Kind of give us a,
Yeah.
where are you at now, and what do you see as the plan?
Yeah. So as mentioning, like we have three offices. So we have one in the Reno Tahoe area, we have one in Las Vegas, and then we have one just in England, right outside of London, in a town called Bristol. In total, we have about 85 employees. Um, and I would say like the last couple of years, like going through the pandemic and everything else, it was moving more towards lifestyle in the sense of like, okay, let's just make sure we're living a healthy life and everyone's happy and stuff. And then kind of coming out of the pandemic and the world's opened up, and and so now there's this renewed energy, if you will, to
Okay.
say, you know what, fuck, we got to go into chapter 3 of Noble, and with that we really rebuilt a sales and marketing department. So we're doing a ton of thought leadership. We're
Okay.
speaking at conferences. We're doing a ton of inbound work. And we're growing. Last year was actually, out of the 20 years, was our number one top line revenue growth year. We're
Wow,
going to
cool.
try. We're
Right.
trying to grow the company. Thank you. We're trying to grow the company 25% this year with all the partnerships and growth goals. And I would say the vision would be that we are considered a 24-hour business, in that we've got offices across the world and we can service 24 hours. Not that we want people working 24 hours, but just that maybe we'll have an office in New Zealand and maybe or Singapore. But the intent would be that we have offices, across the world that can service the 24-hour time window.
Why have offices anyway? Why not just 100% remote for everybody?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that when you think about your sphere of influence, a lot of it's geographical based. And I'll use an example. I'm on the West Coast. So what I talk about is the weather with people on the West Coast. We just had a major storm a couple weeks ago. We talk about the sports teams that are on the West Coast. So you naturally build, even though there's no physical office these days, you naturally build this geographical presence and connection to the sphere of influence. And so because we've built over the years this brand, and we feel like the brand is really healthy, it's created like a culture of life learners. We want to expose the brand to more and more people. And so when you have, if I think of it more of like an office presence as opposed to an office, but if we were to pick, for instance, Wellington, New Zealand, we could source from, a 4-hour, drive window, and those resources would still have a lot of things in common. They'd say, oh yeah, I saw that same thing, or yeah, we got hit with the same weather. And those kinds of, that kind of, human connection is what builds those relationships. It's really hard to build a relationship with someone that you have nothing in common with. You don't know their sports teams, you don't know the music they listen to, you don't know the culture, you don't eat the same food. And so the intent of having not an office, but more of an office presence, is to build people that have a lot of common connections.
So are they commercial buildings you have, or just people that work in those countries that work from home?
So we have a physical building in Las Vegas. We bought it 3 weeks before the pandemic. What the fuck, and
Ouch.
yeah. So, but luckily it was, merged with an SBA loan, and they gave some, like some, not furloughing, but they effectively said like, we're going to allow you to take 6 months, and we won't even tack it on the end of your payment and stuff. So we have a building there in Reno. We have a building only because we're stuck in a lease, and we'll get out of that in a year. But our intent is to buy a building in Reno and make it smaller. And then for anyone that is in the agency world, I mean, this is what you instead of selling your business, this is how you effectively create a liquidity event, is that, you have an asset that you put in an LLC, and then your company pays the mortgage of it. And then you just start paying that down, and now it's an asset forever. But in the UK, we were in a shared office space. We were incubating with another agency. We just signed a lease in a work shared space that's not with that other agency, that gives us dedicated space and time. Because actually, believe it or not, people in the UK, they want to be in the office. They want to have that and I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's because it's overly populated and people don't have big homes over there, and that's why the pub life exists, because they don't want to invite everybody to a small apartment. They want to meet at the pub. But they definitely they want that more human connection, where I feel like in America, here, I think people are valuing the freedom of working from home, and they feel like they're just as productive. But in general, people like getting together. So every year we do 2 major events. We have a holiday week where we fly in everyone, all the employees and their spouses for the holiday week. We fly them in, and we do workshops and department meetings and chemistry meetings. And then in the summer, which is coming up soon, we have a solstice barbecue, and we fly in, not their spouses, but we fly in all the team members. And that chemistry and what you create physically together is unmatched
Oh
when
yeah.
you're as a
Oh, for sure.
distributed. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I mean, we're 100% remote at Riderflex, but when we do get together, it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's nothing that can replace it. So.
Yeah, totally agree. So the 85 employees, are you and your wife still 100% owners, or have you taken on investors, any outside cash? What's the makeup of the ownership?
Yeah, thanks. We've explored the idea of bringing in outside capital to grow. I feel like, and I had never done this, so I can't. So we didn't take any capital, but I've seen so many people, especially our proximity to Silicon Valley, where when you spend someone else's money, you spend it very differently than when it's your own money, right? Even if it's like, well, I'll pay it off someday because it's a loan. And I saw that happening so much 20 years ago in this, in that sort of boom after the dot-com boom, where people would buy like 4 TVs for their conference room. And you're like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just hire another employee? And so long story short, good or bad, we never took on capital. We have no debt in that sense. So we've grown organically. We do have another partner. His name's BC. He runs our Vegas office. He's our chief creative officer. And he's both earned equity and he's also bought in and bought some equity. So we're still the majority shareholders, the two of us combined, but he now owns a portion. And then we have a very like a sweat equity first employee that we ever had is still with us 18 years later. And she has a very small minority share of it. And then last thing I would say is in our UK office, that's actually a joint venture. So we all threw in some seed money between us as an agency and another agency over there. And so that one's a joint venture where we don't own the majority. We actually own 40% of that company. So.
And is that so that's a JV then basically?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering why that was listed separate on your LinkedIn profile. That's what I see.
Yeah, and that was the thing was like, well, when you go into another market, right, it's what we're known for here, which is just, really truly like white glove, American customer service. Over there, that doesn't work as well, right? You have to translate things you have to kind of anglicize it, as we say. And so we wanted to have a different, borrow from the mothership, Noble, but we wanted to only go into that market with service. And so we came in there only with performance marketing services. And when you think about opening an office, you can either do it and you can go in there by opening through geo, you can open by vertical, or you can open by service. And we decided let's go in with geo because we knew it was going to be the UK, and let's go in with service. Now we're starting to expand and getting into more of the vertical space over there. So.
Most importantly, you can go on trips to Europe and write it off as a business expense.
So no joke, that was like, I'm not joking. It's fucking serious. Like when we sat down with the agency partner over there, we said, why do we want to do this? And it was like, I can't remember the 4 things that was listed, but one of them on both sides of the pond was like, well, this gives us an opportunity to travel, and make a difference and see the world and stuff because we love culture. And so, yeah, it's pretty badass. I mean, just 4 weeks ago, I was over there and I popped over to Italy and saw some friends that I knew and used to live with when I lived in Italy. And so it flattens the world, and we're just big travelers. We opened the show with me talking about all those artifacts behind me in the bookcase. All those are literally all over the world. If you subscribe to embedded energy, there is like embedded energy from every damn country or state or place in this little room that I'm in. So,
do you target certain sectors, industries, size of companies, or would you consider yourself a global generalist when it comes to marketing and digital?
Yeah, not that this is why we actually started 6 years ago in the UK with only going in with one, service line, if you will, performance marketing services, because it's really hard to be everything to everyone. Yeah. But, we are still classified now as a full service agency. Although over the last couple of years, we've really honed in our ideal client profile to be focused more on travel and tourism and B2B in the US. And and there is minimums. We like to look at like, 10,000 a month in service revenue as our minimum, but we have some clients that pay us 100,000 a month in minimum service revenue. But yeah, it's an interesting, if I were to do it all over again, I'd probably be a lot more niche or niche, however you say it. And be more of that specialist. Because if you think about being a specialist, you know exactly what conferences to go to. You can write content on it. You can become an authority on it. And you can just you can concentrate all your energy to one thing. But that's hard for entrepreneurs, right? When they start a company, you're like, fuck yeah, we do that. Of course we do. Yeah, sure we do it. Never done it before. We'll figure it out, And so, and you got to kind of do that anyway to test the waters, right? So
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to give the speech. When we started as a recruiting firm, I mean, are you kidding me? If the phone rang and they said,
yeah, of
"Do you recruit for XYZ?"
course we do.
Yes, yes, we do.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Have
That's
you
what.
ever recruited a purple chair salesperson? Yes,
Yeah,
yes, we have.
4 times just in the last couple of weeks. Actually, I'm not going to
Then
show you what we did, but
then,
yeah,
then we'd hang up the conference phone. And Scott would call me and be like, "Holy shit, man! Do you think we can do that?" And I'm like, "I
yeah.
don't
I
know
don't know
yet. We'll
how.
figure it
Yeah.
out."
Yeah, exactly. I know it's so true. Honestly, it's like, and I think that's really important though. As an entrepreneur, you say yes to everything, and then you have to develop, you
Yeah.
know, the sort of mindset to say no because you've tested enough. You're like, those, yeah, that whatever. This example, we no longer want to do that because we lost our ass on it, or it was a bad client, or we didn't know what we were doing, put our necks way over our skis, but you got to kind of do that first to
You
test.
have to.
Otherwise, it's like I
You
don't
have
know how
to.
you learn that.
I've read a great quote. Oh man, where was it? I don't know. I mean, it might have been on one of the audio things I was listening to, but the quote was, "I see risk as a currency, and the more I take, the richer I feel."
Ooh, wow. Wow. That's powerful. That's so
Uh,
true.
Yeah.
I saw similarly, I said, because I was the one in architecture school, always like, hey, let's go out and grab dinner. And, everyone's broke in college. I'm like, no, fuck it. I'll just throw it on my credit card. And they're like, why do you do? I said, my debt will be the incentive for me to be successful, but I don't want to screw up any opportunities or miss moments, in life. And sure
Yes.
enough, man, I walked out of, no joke, architecture school with more debt than most of my classmates. And now I probably would say they have more debt than I do,
Yeah.
And so,
Probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Probably.
so
So I didn't really let you finish. So are you gonna? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to? Do you want to? What do you talk to the wife and you're like, okay, what's our plan here? Or hey, cool. If this just keeps going, and then eventually we hire a CEO, and maybe we step back, and they just send us our monthly check, or what's the plan?
right. So I remember distinctively when we were like 3 years into the business and we said, okay, as soon as we make $1 million, we're going to sell this fucking business, and then of course we hit $1 million. We're like, wait a second, but we only really profited like 20,000. Like, well, so it's not worth much then, And so there was that learning lesson. And then we started entertaining conversations about acquisitions and stuff. And
Yeah.
by doing that, I encourage everyone to go through that because what you learn is what they value as a business. And it's things like, oh, they'll pay you more if you have all recurring revenue. They'll pay you more if you have long contracts, 1 year long contracts with 3 year or 3 month out breaks. They'll pay you more if you have more margins. They'll pay you more if you have really big salaries as, as chief operating officers and things like that. And, or CEOs or whatnot, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, fuck, we actually have the best business we could ever ask for. And so they say, if you build a business to sell, you're never going to want to sell it because you've got everything. You're getting great distributions every year. You've got great salary. You get to travel the world,
Yeah.
And so I would say our early days, we started out with, let's build something. It has value. Now someone will pay for it, going through the learning curve of what people value to then all of a sudden we're creating the company that everybody wants. And then saying, no, fuck that. I'm not going to sell this. Like, we're like still young. We got fire in our belly. Like now we're moving into the acquisition stage of us being the acquirer.
Cool.
So we're entertaining, like, what does an SBA loan look like? So we can have that capital. We have the 20-year history mark so we can be approved very quickly. So now we're like, okay, what kind of agencies or other companies we want to buy? I mentioned we're looking at building.
And there's going to be some. I guarantee you because some of those folks, like we talked about earlier on, are not going to jump on AI and they're going to be left behind. The businesses are going to suffer and you're going to have some low-hanging fruit you can grab onto.
There's going to be some, and there already is right now coming out of the pandemic. And I don't want to buy distressed, unhealthy companies, but what's happened is people went into the pandemic not having a very good, strong sales and marketing department, or not having those recurring clients. And so they're coming out and they're like, and they never graduated from a tradesperson to a business person. Right. And that's the crux of all entrepreneurs, is that a lot of times they just stay as that, how they founded the business. They can't get out of their own way. And so long story short, my intent is that I want to entertain us acquiring companies, building the brand, exposing it. And then eventually, yes, one day we'll do a slow exit in that I'll, move to chairman of a board. But I'm thinking that's 10, 15, 20 years from now. Right now, it's like, we're here to make we're here to make a big difference in the world of how we approach brands and, spreading our core values and principles and affecting people positively, whether it's clients, partners, stakeholders, you name it.
Yeah. I like where you're headed. I personally would rather not sell, but step back into, hey, I check in once a week, or
Yep.
I'll go out and do some rainmaking activities and shake hands, kiss babies.
Yep.
I'll help bring in a few contracts here or there. I'll do, I'll be on the board or whatever. But just send me my quarterly check,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that will be it when I finally move to that chairman of the board, or whatnot. I still want to have a role, but I do feel like like I said earlier, that this is chapter 3 of Noble right now. Like we owe it to ourselves, to see how far we can push this thing. And I would say if we were coming off of really, really, really hard years and not surviving or thriving through the pandemic, I probably would have think, all right, let's merge. I'll give you good 5 years and stuff, but we weathered the storm and we're like, all right. And we feel like we're ahead of the pack. And so we're like, all right, well, let's just grab it then. Let's grab it. Grab
Now,
Noble by the horns,
20 something years of not having a boss.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
No.
if you woke up and you told your wife, well, I guess I'll call Fred and see if we can take tomorrow off and get permission? Like a dude.
No. No, I actually, to be honest, this is a real fear. And I bet other entrepreneurs have this fear, is that, what other value do I bring besides being an entrepreneur of Noble and understanding this landscape, right? Truly, like, I think if you ask me to be an individual contributor again, I just don't know. I don't know. That is a really weird, thought-provoking exercise that I just don't know if I'd be. Of course, I'm going to be successful. I'm a fucking survivor, but at the same time, like, will I be happy, reporting to Fred? I don't think I would,
No, dude.
Yeah.
No. In fact, it's so bad for me that one of the things we do on the side is a little bit of consulting. So I used to be an operations executive, and my buddy co-founder is a sales guy. So from time to time, and I did a few turnarounds back in the day. So from time to time, I will get calls saying, hey, can you come do some consulting? Which, I'll go do it if I need to, or if I was like, but even when I go do consulting assignments and then I have the CEO of that company kind of start to tell me what to do as the consultant, I'm just like, I feel like, okay, I don't know if I can't do it.
You're like, this is how we're going to do it. God damn it. Accept it. No, I think that's what I would hate. I hate the idea, like, of failing others, so I think that's where I wouldn't want to fail others. And therefore I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, there's something there, like,
every day that I tell my sons this, who are both entrepreneurs, so very similar to your children.
Yeah.
I tell my sons, every day I wake up and I'm not working for somebody else is a good day.
It's a good day. It's a good day. Well, it's like when they say I've gone fishing, it's like, it's not they didn't say they're going catching, like they're going fishing. They don't give a shit if they catch a fish or not. They're just going fishing, so I hear you. I know I subscribe to that as well. So I'm very happy with the life we've created.
Yeah. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, man.
20 something years. But I think, by the way, you probably know the stat, the average business lasts, I think, 3 years or whatever. I don't know. I'll ask Chat GPT what the average is, but you've already blown away the average. You're profitable, your revenue's growing. You don't have debt to any outside investors. You and your wife still have control of the cap table.
Yep.
I mean, bro, hey.
No, honestly, I swear to, I'm literally living like a dream right now, and it's been a hard one, right? There's been nightmares in this dream, obviously, to get here. It was no easy task, and it was filled with lots of effort, but I think, we're very blessed, man. We're very blessed. And then part of that's why we want to push it forward. We want to just, like, say, well, God damn it, let's inspire more people. Let's bring more people along, and, let's continue to learn. And because, we're just in this health, we're in a good mindset,
You're a pretty humble guy, which I really appreciate. But I know, and I have a ton of friends that are entrepreneurs, and hell, we've interviewed over 400 entrepreneurs on the podcast.
Yeah.
Most of us have heavy scars, heavy burdens, heavy stress, nightmares, the sweats, all of it. And that is why many of us, a lot of entrepreneurs have a little bit of swagger. There's just a little bit
Yeah.
of, there's a little bit of swagger for most entrepreneurs in
Yeah.
there. Like, right, they try really hard not to be cocky
Yes.
or whatever. But man, it's kind of like the guys who came back from World War II. Let's use those guys as
Yeah.
an example. After they've been to battle and wars and they come back, it's like nothing phases them. They're like, look, dude, I've seen it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll wait fucking 2 hours to get my check at the, you know, at the restaurant or whatever. Like I just recently did a bucket list thing. And you know, this is now me not being as humble, but it was a hard effort. And I went and hiked Everest Base Camp with some other CEOs.
Did you?
Dude, it was
What?
heavy. Yeah. It was hard. It was like, it was all, yeah, it was mental exercise, physical exercise, but I came back to your point. That's the only thing I can see, even relate to, like what was war or putting myself, or what would have created post-traumatic stress in a short amount of time. And I came back and I'm like, every fucking thing around me is a first world problem right now. You know, I'm like, what we, you know, it just, and to your point, that humility that you get from, and that vulnerability you put yourself into, it just, yeah, it keeps your knees bent, and, you know, you treat everyone equal, and, you know, and so, but yeah, you do grow over years to have a bit of swagger, because you're like, man, I've seen a lot. I've seen a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
A little bit. So Everest, oh damn, we could do a whole 45 minutes on that. I bet that was cool.
Oh, it was so cool. Yeah, I got a call. It was a call that it was January 2nd last year, and a friend called me up. He's a CEO and he's an avid hiker, and he's like, hey, I'm putting a trip together, the A team, and it's all CEOs, and you know, you got to go. And I said, well, when is it? And he goes, it's November. I go, okay, well, where is it? He goes, I'm not going to tell you. And I'm like, what? And he's no, I'm not going to tell you. You got to agree to it first. I said, well, give me some details, man. And he's like, you know, so he's like, well, it's safe, but you got to train for it. It's this and that. And he kept going and going. And I'm like, fuck it. All right, I'll go. And he's like, Everest. I go, oh, hell no, I'm not doing Everest. You know, he goes, no, let me explain. It's a little poshy, you know, you get a porter, you know, it's going to be easy. We're going to be drinking beers every day in shorts. And I will say he under indexed the amount of effort it was. I over indexed because I overtrained and I was worried. And it was tough. It was freaking tough, you know, like to get to, you know, the highest elevation I got to on that trip was 18,500 feet with no oxygen. And I tell you, you feel it, and you are thankful, and you're like, damn it, just get me home, get me off this fucking mountain, you know? And but it was great. It was a transformative trip. And I would say, if anyone's needing something like that, to go through with it, you know.
Speaking of tough guys, how about those porters? You kidding me?
Yeah, dude. And that's it. We even said along the hike, we're like, okay, if any of us starts to complain, just look at one of the porters that are walking by where they've got 200 pounds of gear on us and they're getting $15 a day. Like, don't fucking complain, you know?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. And they do it. And that's what they do for a living.
And they do. And it's an honorable trade, right? And I read into that a lot. I want to make sure that, like, this isn't like a slavery feeling. And these people actually are the most honored in their family. They make the most amount of money. You have to, you know, like, it's a trade that's been passed down generation after generation, these porters and Sherpas. And they're treated actually quite well. Everyone's very, very respectful to them.
Oh, I bet.
So it was really cool, man. It was, and everyone there is fucking, they're so friendly and happy. And you just think,
really?
Why can't so many people here complain? I'm like, why can't you, like, go over there for a minute, go over there for like 10 days and you'll come back changed, you know?
Don't get me started. We could do a whole hour on a 24-year-old complaining about shit here.
Yes.
I'm like, just be fucking quiet. Like you have no clue. Like,
you don't have a voice in this. I'm sorry, you know. So no, and it's just perspective. At the end of the day, like, it's just perspective, you know.
It is.
So
it is.
Yeah.
Well, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the Riderflex show. I really appreciate it. Great story.
No, thank you, man. I love sharing. You're a great host, and you really just made it so easy to talk, and the conversation was so natural. And so I'll see you at your house. We'll have a beer soon, you know. So
you come to Colorado, we'll get together.
All right, fair enough. All right, I'm gonna hold you to that, you know.